those it had only voted during the previous 4 months, and to refrain from any legislative initiative without prior approval by the creditors. An over 100-page law, construed in one single article, was passed on July 15th in less than 24 hours, and this was the shortest ultra-urgent procedure ever asked for in Parliament. A 1,000-page law, construed in 3 articles, was passed on July 22nd in less than 24 hours. This 1,000-page law, by the way, contained in one single article 1,008 articles of the new Code of Civil Procedure, a code which had been rejected by a referendum of lawyers around the country on the 3rd and 4th December of 2014. A code which had been drafted by the previous government and against which all concerned social classes and members of the society had reacted very, very fiercely. An almost 400-page law, the power of attorney to sign the third memorandum, was passed on August 14 in 24 hours after the Parliament was urgently reopened, having been closed since August the 6th by government's petition. The Parliament legislated 3 times under duress and coercion in less than a month. And after this atrocious legislation was passed, attesting that a large part of the deputies of the major governing party, Syriza, including myself as President of Parliament, 2 vice presidents coming from Syriza, the presidents of 4 parliamentary committees, those competent for the memorandum content, refused to vote the legislation imposed. The government, in agreement with the President of the Republic and in consultation with the creditors, inadvertently dissolved the Parliament to seek a more stable majority to implement the measures, to implement the third memorandum, to implement what the people had rejected by their votes at the elections and at the referendum. Express elections were proclaimed on August 28th to be held on September the 20th. The party which had asked for a chance to do away with the memoranda, Syriza, the party which had been rallying for social rights, workers' rights, labor rights, social welfare, against austerity, against cuts, against privatizations, against extraordinary procedures, against ultra-urgent procedures in Parliament, against last-minute modifications, and pro-transparency, became the party now asking for a second chance to implement the memoranda and to go forward with everything it had combated during the previous time. Statements issued by the Eurogroup in July and in August 2015 explicitly excluded any discussion for a debt write-off. And at the same time, through this third memorandum, more loans of 86 billion were undertaken by Greece, which means that now each baby born in Greece owes more than 41,000 euros. For the first time, the creditors were happy that elections were held in Greece. We heard statements such as those made by Mrs. Merkel that elections and the Prime Minister who decided them are not part of the crisis, they're part of the solution. And they were happy with good reason. The population was and still is under shock. More than 45.5% of the electorate abstained, while another 2.5% registered a blank or invalid vote. Most members of Parliament who had opposed the measures either did not run in these elections or tried to form an electorally viable coalition under the name Popular Unity within less than a week from the 21st of August to the 28th of August, an effort which fell short of assuming the introduction to Parliament by 7,000 votes. What has happened ever since? A new government with a more stable majority to implement the measures is in place. Most of the members of government who had not been elected by the people became first in the electoral lists and became also members of parliament. So the stable majority to implement the measures is in a way there. On the other hand, so is the Dead Truth Committee, which was convened for the last time between the 22nd and the 25th of September, and it found through a very concise new assessment of the third memorandum that this third memorandum, this third loan agreement, is also unsustainable, odious, illegitimate, and illegal. And it pertains to debt, which is illegal, illegitimate, odious, and unsustainable. Is there hope now that those who were fighting the memoranda, or part of those who were fighting the memoranda, part of those who were fighting austerity measures, have accepted to implement them? Of course there's hope, so long as there's people who are there to still resist, so long as there's solidarity